By 1850, there were 1 million people living in Paris. The population overflowed into the streets. Movement on the street was at a standstill and trade was impossible. The nephew of Napoleon Bonaparte, Napoleon III, came up with a dramatic plan to rebuild Paris by widening streets, improving traffic flow, and clearing the slums.
You had many winding streets, you had decaying houses, overcrowded houses, slums, also where the streets were not clean. It was really a city of the old times.
Eugene Haussmann was selected to modernize Paris. Paris was a web of narrow streets with open sewers. At night, the streets and alleyways became dark and deserted. These were not streets for a nice evening stroll. The streets were riddled with many poor people with nowhere to live. Either the impoverished had to leave on their own, or something dramatic had to be done. Haussmann decided to buy up the land and move the slums and their inhabitants to the outskirts of the city. Now he could focus on the transportation problem. With the arrival of new railways into Paris, he wanted to make the trains accessible to all Parisians.
There was absolutely no link between any of these railway stations and the others. And this meant that going from one region of France to another region of France with the obligation to go through Paris meant an enormous effort and enormous difficulties just to come across Paris.
Haussmann envisioned linking the new railway stations with wide boulevards throughout the city so that traffic could flow more smoothly. These were wide avenues that allowed for traffic to traverse the city quickly, and also made for a beautiful place for trees and sidewalks. By easing traffic conditions, he felt he was organizing Paris and opening it up to an economic boost. Since the slums had been torn down, he had room to construct condominiums in their stead. He was very interested in giving Paris a modern look. Every apartment building was constructed to Haussmann's standards. A height of 66 feet with similar facades, to ensure all of his new boulevards would have the same look. Although it seemed as though Haussmann's only agenda was making the city more livable, he also had another secret agenda behind his design. The wide boulevards came just as much from military planning as they did from city planning. These wide avenues were ideal to allow soldiers full access to stop rioting.
The problem of security never has been absent from Napoleon's preoccupations. There had been so many riots with bloodsheds, with destruction, etc., that nearly all the population of Paris really wanted to have security in Paris.
Soldiers could now perch in their barracks in the east end of Paris and look out over the city. This is the area where riots and revolution had previously started. But now, the soldiers had a clear line of sight and could communicate freely to stop any sign of trouble. In less than 30 years, Haussmann dramatically redesigned Paris. He expanded the city's boundaries, enticing new people to enter the city. He also built parks, giving Parisians their first taste of a beautiful open communal space where they could relax and be comfortable. And perhaps most importantly, he made the streets both safer and easier to navigate.